Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakaha, Wadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. This is your brother Ayash Kabar from the GMS Virginia camp, coming at you with another lesson that I pray that you find edifying through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai. And this is going to be a little light lesson. I'm currently at the plantation and I got a few minutes, you know what I'm saying, bring out a lesson. And I'll start with this precept. The book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 21. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. We are in that time where wherever or whatever you value the most, that's what you're going to concentrate on more than anything. And it may very well cost you your own lives, thinking about things of this world that mean absolutely nothing to you, or it shouldn't mean anything to you, you know, especially if you are in this truth and you know what's going on. You know, after hearing about it from the prophets of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, you know, you should have that mindset of, you know, nothing matters except doing the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai at the end of your day. But there's a lot of people that are going to have a problem walking away from the things in this life, in this world, that they would almost refuse to get rid of, you know, and myself included. Don't let that be the case with you. You know, don't fall victim to worldly objects, worldly people, you know, things that will cost you your salvation. Because at the end of the day, we are here to serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai first and foremost, you know, but you also want to be saved in the process. You know, like I said, I'm currently at the plantation, and I know that everything that I'm working for at the plantation means nothing, you know, in the eyes of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You know, I take no pleasure in waking up and working for someone else on a day-to-day basis. I take no pleasure in it. And I'm gonna break out some scriptures to show you how I feel about it. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3 and verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. So we're under the sun, you know, going through our judgment. You know, we're here in this flesh, the way that we are in this flesh, you know, having to deal with what we've done in our previous lives. Jumping down to verse, I'm going to go to Ecclesiastes chapter 2 and verse 17. Therefore, I hated my life, because the work that it wrought under the sun is grievous unto me. Waking up every day is grievous unto me. You know, the scriptures say that money is a defense. You know, we have to work in order to live, but we don't want to live to the point where it's hard to get rid of the things that you've acquired in this life. You don't want to get to the point where you have a problem getting rid of that brand new car you may have just bought, or that new house you have built, you know, or that family that you have just acquired, you know, because at the end of the day, it's all about serving Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. And these are some of the things that you will or may have to let go. You got to be prepared for these things. Although the elect hope that, the man could save the woman, and his house, and the believing wife can save her, she can't save her unbeliever husband, but there's hope in that. You see what I'm saying? So we hope in these things, at the end of the day, but we have to be ready to let these things go. The believing wife may have an unbelieving husband that's a straight fucking demon that won't turn from his wickedness. She has to be prepared in her mind that he might not make it, and Yahweh Hashem Yahushai will direct her path towards a righteous man, a man of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, a man who's in the truth, who's serving Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, might have a demon of a wife with demon kids, unruly people around him that won't take heed. And if they're of the age where they're responsible for their own actions, he has to be prepared in his mind that they might not make it. And these are just a few examples, to get you into that mindset of we're in that time where everything that you've worked for don't mean shit. Unless you're doing the work of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, it doesn't mean shit. And the scriptures are going to say that. Not in that word, or not in those words, but you get the point. I'll read Ecclesiastes 2:17 again. Therefore I hated my life, because the work that it wrought under the sun is grievous unto me, for all is vanity and vexation of spirit. I'm vexed having to wake up and work for somebody else. I'm vexed having to, sweat or having to go through blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, I'm not crying, but you get my point. Nor am I bleeding, but you get my point. This is grievous unto me. It's vexing, to have to serve under a wicked kingdom where it means nothing at the end of my day. Jumping down to verse 18. Yea, I hated all my labor which I had taken under the sun. I hate this shit. Let's say, for example, if I did have wealth, I did have assets, I did have things that I could pass on from one generation unto the next. Who am I leaving it for? Who am I leaving it to? Because we're living in a very adulterous generation. We're living in a nation of Israelites that, one, don't accept the fact that they're Israelites, two, that don't adhere to the voice of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, and three, that just don't give a shit. So even if I had wealth, who am I leaving it for? Why would I leave it for him? Yea, I hated all my labor which I had taken under the sun, because I should leave it unto a man that shall be after me. And whom knoweth whether he shall be a wise man or a fool? I would rather, if I had wealth, I wouldn't leave it to anyone that's not serving Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. I would give my wealth to a wise man, a man of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. Yea, shall he have rule over all my labor wherein I have labored, and wherein I have shown myself wise under the sun, is also vanity. It's all vanity, bro, at the end of the day. It's all vanity. And if you're not vexed over having to serve a wicked kingdom, then, hey, you must like it. But ultimately, this is what it's about, because I got to get ready to go into the plantation. Ultimately, this is what it's about. The book of Matthew chapter 6 and verse 20. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through and steal. Do the work of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, so that at the end of your day, you're building up your spiritual bank account. Do the work of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, and think upon the works that you've done, because the scripture says, again, I started off with this, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So if your treasure is doing the work of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, then that's where your mind is going to be. If your will is, to strive for righteousness to the best of your ability, then that's where your heart is going to be. Get your mind out of this kingdom, because this kingdom is falling, and it's falling fast. It's falling like lightning. Those who know. Anyhow, I got to get ready to go into the plantation. And so with that, I'd like to give all praise, glory, and honors to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Rachach Hadash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.